We are so grateful for the new time with us of Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, who is so remarkably qualified in so many ways. She has a master's degree in religious studies, a doctorate in divinity. She has degrees in organizational management, human resources, accounting. But beyond this, she provides her messages in such a playful, humble way that is so helpful and practical. But above all, she does it all with a loving spirit. Welcome to the Spiritual Life Center family, Dr. Martha. Let's open with.
Greetings, friends. This is Martha Creek. I'm delighted to be joining you here today. It's such an auspicious time to be in contemplation and to be reflecting in what our lives are about and how we're living our lives. And I'm pretty consistent here, as I'm pretty sure some of y'all are too, to continue to do this. And the focus today is to look at the 5 invitations for life and living. This is from a book, of course, that's extremely a bestseller. So you can check that out if you want to, the 5 invitations. The first one, what it leads us to, I believe, or the 5 invitations are here to show us how, so many people say, well, I hear a lot of sermons, I hear a lot of guidance and all that, but people don't tell you how to do it. Well, today includes the how to do it for some of us, to wake up fully to our lives so that these steps then can be understood as best practices. And like any other practices and every other tools, spiritual tools, they're only effective to the degree that we actually use them. So can you relate to having a lot of tools you gathered over the years, but mama would say the hoe that I have for that garden and getting those weeds out of that garden has got rust on it because I've not been using that hoe all that often to get the weeds out of my garden or the garden of my mind. So this is about best practices for anyone on any path, regardless of your philosophies or beliefs or anything like that, because collectively we back here at the ranch, Unity people often say, all is well. And I'm like, well, tell your face, because it has not caught up to how well things are. And in the absolute, all is well, as far as we know. Back here at the ranch, however, we are coping with a humanity that is deep and wide in us, our humanness. That includes navigating some big winds, navigating some treacherous mental, emotional territory, having to cope with change, rapid pace of change and loss, and now a protracted time of that, navigating many transitions and various crises of some sort, not to mention our run-of-the-mill monkey mind that we are working with on a moment-to-moment, situation-to-situation basis. So these invitations guide us toward getting some mastery at that navigation and toward appreciating and growing our appreciation for the preciousness of life. The preciousness of life. When's the last time you woke up and thought, oh, life is precious. Life is precious. Well, I've had some deep losses, actually the deepest losses of my life these last few months. And it's closer to me now, just how precious it is, particularly when it's young ones passing and young ones dying and things like that. So sometimes it takes something like that to jar me back into just how precious life is. This also includes not denying or dancing around or spiritually bypassing an awareness of death, and instead using that awareness that death is inevitable, that death is part of the life's unfolding. My daddy used to say it as, honey, nobody's going to make it out alive. Something's got to kill us. So then using that awareness of death as a companion, as a valuable companion for living well, for living fully, for living purposefully, intentionally, for forging a rich and meaningful life, and by all means, living without regrets or living with fewer regrets, living with fewer grudges and fewer resentments and things like that. So the 5 Invitations is a powerful and inspiring exploration of what I believe is essential wisdom and how living and dying has to be integrated, and that has to be imparted to us, through us, for us. So buckle up as we go in here. The first practice is don't wait. Don't wait. Now, many of us think, well, I'm not waiting. It's like, well, just look to see today, what actually have you put off? What have you put off? It may become something like, when this happens, or when that happens, or when I retire, or when the children grow up, or when I'm through the treatments, or when the winter's over, or when. So just look at, instead of saying, I'm not putting stuff off, look today to see if you can see, what have I put off? What have I actually postponed? What am I actually waiting on and waiting for to see then? Because at the end of our life, we're going to regret that. We're going to regret that we didn't do some of these things. You know, you've never heard a dying person on a dying bed say, oh, I'm really glad I spent 40 hours a week extra every week in an office somewhere. Or I'm really glad I didn't go to any family reunions. Maybe I didn't have time. So it's easy for people that are closer to the end of life than to recognize the preciousness of these things, of our relationships, of our humanity, of the way we're serving, that even the preciousness of a breath and how each breath counts. So this death is always with us, and embracing the truth of that can encourage us to not wait in order to begin living moment to moment in a manner that is more deeply engaged, present to a sunrise, present to a sunset, a leaf on a tree, the breeze. My 5-year-old great niece, as soon as she gets in the car with me, of course, she rides in the back in a booster seat. She puts that window down, and as far as that little head will reach out the window, out that window it goes. And it's cold sometimes. It's even freezing. And then she keeps it out till she's had enough. And then she says, oh, I'm cold. And she puts up the window. So this engaging in this more deeply, so that we are going to be less and less willing to say yes to things that are not yeses for us, and to say no to things that are actually no for us. So the invitation this week is not to wait, and to look to see how and where am I engaging in meaningless activity, and where could I add some meaningful activity to my life? No more waiting. No more waiting. Number 2, invitation number 2. Take a big deep breath on this one. If we were meeting in person, this is where you try to leave the room. Welcome everything. You don't have to like everything. You don't have to love everything. You don't have to love what is. Our liberation, however, lies in us at least not pushing anything away. So whatever arises, that I have to go with that. I absolutely have to accept what I cannot change. Change what I can, and wake up again and again and again to know the difference. So then, anytime a self, the egoic fear mind, whatever you want to call it, feels threatened or like it's dissolving, which is happening all the time, we can build a practice around, instead of resisting this, I'm going to go with it, which is my primary spiritual practice. Whatever happens, go with it. It doesn't mean I have to like it or love it. It doesn't mean I have to stand for it, but I don't have to resist either, which is what's keeping up the war. This is keeping up the stress, the pressure, the suffering, not the thing itself, not what's happening, but my resistance to it is creating this suffering. So then the more I can breathe through it, so to speak, change what I can. Certainly it's not passive. It's not a doormat kind of anything. It's like, I'm going to change what I can. I'm going to heal the space I'm in. And I'm going to practice less resistance. Now, how many decades have you been hearing this? 3 or 4, 5 or 6 for some of us. And we're still at it because it's the programmed, responsive, knee-jerk, instinctual action of the mind versus, so I'm going to intercept that, I'm going to circuit break that, and I'm going to practice for this time period, maybe through the holiday, maybe till the year end, maybe for this week, maybe in my family gatherings coming up. I'm going to practice allowing it all, resisting nothing, pushing nothing away, not trying to like it, not trying to kid myself that I like it, not having to like it, and not resisting it either. So test this out. Don't believe a thing I say. Test this out for yourself. See what happens in your own life experience. It's basic unity. You know, unity says God is. I am that I am. I think that way. I think that way. I've got to think that way. And I pray that way. And I live that way. So then God is, I am, there's one power and presence in the universe. So then whatever's coming is part of that. And then my power, my inherent innate power, lies in me not misusing the wind for that sail. So then I'm going to harness the wind that's coming from that to be in the world and how I'm going to be in the world based on what I can do about that. And then invitation number 3 is bring your whole self to whatever experience you're having. Now, we've heard it as don't multitask. When you're washing dishes, be washing dishes, feel the water on your hands. When you're going up the steps, feel your feet on the step. When you're taking your morning walk, to be on the walk. Sky, tree, bird song, wind, to be present, to bring my whole self to that. And the mind is going to be out doing all matters of things to keep me from anywhere but here. So then that means when I'm listening, I'm going to actually listen with people instead of wondering when they're going to be quiet so I can get my opinion in, or when I can straighten them out or let them know what my truth is. So instead, I'm going to bring my whole self to it. I'm going to listen in ways I haven't listened. I'm going to listen just to listen, not to teach, not to fix, not to rescue, not to advise them. See, this will feel like it's killing us. Like, oh, I've got such good advice. Yes, and guess who it's for? Guess who your advice is for? Yes, bingo, you. My advice is for me. And until I can live it out, and it's like there's no listeners there. So the people that are coming looking for a listener are not looking to be fixed and rescued. What's it like when people try to fix and rescue you and you need and want a listener? It's like that. So then as we get more welcoming of what is, welcoming everything, then pushing nothing away, this is first and foremost an invitation to openness, an invitation to oneness, an invitation, as the Buddhists would say it, of an awake and curious mind. So instead of, I know how it ought to be, I know, it's like, I'm curious. I'm curious about how this is going to unfold. I'm curious to see what happens here. And then this openness cannot reject. This openness will not get attached to a particular outcome or particular point of view. It is spacious, it's broader, it's lighter, it's undefended, willing. Think the 12 powers. Faith-filled, hopeful, loving, strong, powerful, imaginative, with zeal, with will, with understanding. So this is tied in that way. So that as we welcome more things, push nothing away, it's the opposite of rejecting. It's the opposite of resisting. It's the opposite of this rigidity. And many of you know, you've heard it, what you resist, persist. It's like anything that we reject is like what they call a bad penny. It keeps showing up. So we're going to do it differently. And that's the invitation here to do that. That means then to make peace with things as they are, doing what you can, changing what you can, and then less force and them having to be the way you want them to be. So power, empowered, and in power versus in force. Then the fourth invitation, take a big deep breath, is place rest consciously in the middle of all things, to build a time of rest. One of my teachers says, things are going really fast, so be sure to slow down. Things are moving fast, be sure to slow down. So some rest, and rest is different for all of us. You know, the poet David White says, the antidote for exhaustion is not rest. The antidote for exhaustion is wholeheartedness. So I could be working, and be at rest while I work. To be at rest in what I'm doing. My friend Glenn used to say, I'm a good tired. I'm a good tired. I think it would be like that. So this then is a chance to say, okay, I've got the wisdom to know when something's stressing me and all this efforting that it's taken to go, I've got to really look to see, is that really a fit for me? So how can I do what I do? How can I produce what I produce, get done my duties, my responsibilities, whatever it is, in relationships and families and jobs, corporations, with my well-being, whatever is my responsibility to do, but I'm going to do it more restfully. I'm going to do it with less angst. I'm going to do it with less dread. I'm going to do it with the other three invitations active, which is to bring my whole self to it. Stop waiting, giving more honest yeses and nos, and to absolutely then not push anything away. So then I'm more at rest with what I'm doing, because the exhaustion is caused through the resistance of this and the mental gyrations and the storytelling about this. Again, basic unity principles. And one of my favorite quotes from this teaching includes this: suffering is only removed by wisdom. Suffering is only removed by wisdom, not by drenching it in sunshine, and certainly not attempting to bury it in a dark basement. So how can I be with suffering, with what is, with the human condition, with my own humanness, more at rest? More accepting equals more rest, more welcoming it, more allowing for it, integrating it, more at rest with it. Give it a go, not for my sake. And then the last one, the last of the 5 invitations, is cultivate a don't know mind. Now, this is enough to finish some of us off, because just say it out loud. You know, I don't know. What are we going to do about this situation? I don't know. What am I going to do about my rent that's not paid? Like, I don't know. What am I going to do about this cancer? It's like, yeah, I don't know. What are you going to do? What do you see other people doing? What do you see has been effective for you in the past? What do you see as a possibility for yourself to navigate this? What would ease this for you? What would be supportive to you during this time? So see if you can practice saying it, and it's going to really activate One of my friends that uses the word ego says, "Oh my gosh, the ego just shrieks when I say it." That's a clue, friends. That's a clue. So as we tidy up our practices, tidy up our lives, tidy up our own heart and how we're meeting life and meeting life on its terms, the uncertainties of it, surrendering our human control at times, rewriting, rewiring. That's what the brain scientists call it. These invitations are to align with a rewiring of our brain. So it is literally creating a new way to be in the world. Here's some invitations. And here's a Rumi poem that I'll use to close. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open, round and open, inclusive. Don't go back to sleep. All blessings to you, the greatest of love. MarthaCreek.com to contact me. See you soon.
MarthaCreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.